17-year-old has been charged with attempted murder in connection to a recent shooting. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. The suspect has been arrested after last month's shooting on Trillium Court.
It sent a male victim to hospital with serious injuries. Officers responded to the shooting the afternoon of March 24th, and a significant police presence remained for a few hours until the situation was deemed safe. As a result of the investigation, which included help from the break-and-enter unit, the 17-year-old was arrested yesterday. Under the Youth Criminal Justice Act, their identity can't be released. The teen appeared in court today and remains in custody with a future court date.
More than $4 million is missing from the coffers of the Thunder Bay District Social Services Administration Board this year, funding that supports hundreds of affordable housing units in the district.
It's the direct result of a dispute between the federal and provincial governments that saw Ottawa hold back a $357 million transfer to the province. Lee Noonan has the details.
More than 700 affordable housing units in the Thunder Bay District are at risk after the Social Services Administration Board lost $4.2 million from this year's budget. DSAB CAO Bill Bradica says the loss is devastating.
It was a shock, especially given that we were told at the 12th hour. I mean, we were told at the end of March. And the fiscal year for this funding starts April 1st. So there was absolutely no opportunity to plan for this.
The funding comes from Canada's National Housing Strategy via the province. But on March 27th, Federal Housing Minister Sean Fraser announced he would withhold $357 million from Ontario if the province couldn't meet its affordable housing targets. Bradica is urging local Liberal MPs to lean on Fraser to reverse the decision.
The decision to cut this funding will have devastating impacts on the people who are in need of affordable housing.
Roughly $2.2 million of the funding was budgeted for capital repairs for 442 housing units throughout the district. About another $1.2 million was budgeted for operational funding to maintain more than 270 legacy units first built under the Urban Native Housing Program. And an additional $800,000 was budgeted for new builds. Bradica says as many as 115 existing units could be lost this year if another funding source can't be found.
If this isn't resolved, it's going to impact people, people who currently are in a rent-geared income unit, because there will be less rent-geared income units available, and we already have a wait list of 1,300, and that it's going to make that worse and possibly lead to more homelessness.
In 1 week, the board will have to decide how to handle the issue. Bradica is recommending dipping into reserve funds to cover 2024, but says that just will not be sustainable in the long term. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
Sticking with the housing file, the Ontario government is getting some pushback over its plan to get more homes built.
And as CTV's Javon Morris tells us, the Ford government is also facing questions about how it plans to combat intimate partner violence.
The opposition is dismissing the government's latest attempt to speed up construction of homes as unambitious and underwhelming.
What is stopping this government from showing leadership and doing more to build homes in neighbourhoods people want to live in?
The plan leaves out a key recommendation from the Housing Affordability Task Force to allow fourplexes as a rule everywhere in Ontario. The government has emphasized local choice.
The number one obstacle to building homes in the province of Ontario is the lack of infrastructure and the infrastructure deficit that we inherited from the previous Liberal government. The other obstacle, of course, is the lack of transit and transportation, which we inherited from the previous Liberal government.
With a focus on adding supply and home ownership.
There is nothing in this bill for renters. There is nothing to lower rent. There is nothing to stop illegal evictions. There is nothing to fix the landlord and tenant board.
Calandra counters giving universities more freedom to build student housing will be a big help.
You know what that does, Mr. Speaker? It puts thousands of rental units back on the market for our communities.
The government's facing questions on next steps to declare intimate partner violence an epidemic. We heard from the Premier on this issue for the first time today. He detailed a conversation with the dad from Sault Ste. Marie last night who's endured incredible pain because of it.
You talk to a father that lost his daughter, his kids, Oh my goodness, it just rips your heart out. You can hear these stories, but listen to the families that it has affected. It's terrible.
Asking a committee to study the issue rather than following recommendations from an inquest into the deaths of 3 women in Renfrew County completed in 2022.
It's one thing to pass legislation, nothing happens. Let's put some teeth into this, bring it to the Justice Committee and drill down, but it's a very serious issue.
At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
Local advocates welcome the fact that intimate partner violence will be declared an epidemic by the province, but want to know what actions will follow. The Ford government offered rare support for the NDP bill yesterday. The move comes after more than 90 municipalities in the province, including Thunder Bay, already took the same step. Local Women's Centre Executive Director Gwen O'Reilly hopes action follows, saying the data is already there to take meaningful steps.
General meaningful consultation with stakeholders, with advocates, with survivors, to understand what actually is happening out there. One of the concerns we have with the government's response is that they say we need to study this, and that is absolutely untrue. There is no need for studies. We have all of the research we need to understand the nature of this epidemic.
Thunder Bay declared intimate partner violence an epidemic in September, but O'Reilly contends that she hasn't seen any action from the city since.
Kiiwetinoong MPP Saul Mamakwa called out the Ford government at Queen's Park this week over the lack of police presence and resources in First Nation communities. The NDP member argued policing on reserve is underfunded and should be reclassified as an essential service.
First Nations policing is funded as a program, not as an essential service. Extra resources are needed to ensure women experiencing intimate partner violence on reserve get referrals to victim services they need. If First Nations policing were essential services, they wouldn't need to apply to get this kind of funding. Speaker, will this government stop underfunding First Nations police support services?
We take public safety all across Ontario very, very seriously. And as the federal government is considering making it the essential service, as the member opposite said, this is something that we will absolutely support. But in the meantime, as the member knows, as the Community Safety and Policing Act came into force just last week, First Nation police communities have the right to opt in, and we hope they do, so that we will continue to fund adequate policing services and to provide those monies for the communities that they need.
Kenora OPP are investigating a fatal single-vehicle collision that happened late last night. Emergency crews responded to the site of a crashed pickup truck shortly before midnight on Highway 17 just east of Kenora. The 24-year-old from Rat Portage was pronounced dead on scene. The investigation continues.
Emergency sewer work closed down part of High Street North for much of the day today. The closure is between Red River Road and Elizabeth Street. Crews have been working on the repair throughout the day, which included breaking up parts of the road. Motorists and pedestrians were being asked to use caution and to expect delays. The road was expected to reopen early this evening.
Local high school girls had the chance to learn more about some exciting opportunities available to them in the trades.
A Tech Days for Women event was held to teach the students more about welding, operating heavy machinery, and more. Jaden Billick was there.
Over 70 female students from grades 9 to 12 in various high schools across the city were rotated through 4 stations Thursday afternoon during the Tech Days for Women event. They experienced a brief but exciting introduction to a few of the main trades that are in high demand at this time. The stations included safety standards, general theory, and a chance to showcase their skills.
This is one of Skills Ontario's Skilled Trade and Tech Days for young women. We hold them across the province, and this is our first time holding it here at Leuna Local 607. I think today's a really great day. The weather's perfect, and this is our first time having machine work, so we're just really excited that the girls have the opportunity to see these careers as operators as well.
The stations at the event promoted teamwork amongst peers, as well as independent thinking. A chance to grow their own confidence when working with intimidating equipment such as this welder. The students we spoke with say they feel much more confident operating tools involved in various situations. And a few of them are even interested in continuing to learn about the possible work opportunities in the future.
I thought it'd be a good opportunity to try out the different trades, and it's a day out of school. My dad's a carpenter, so I wanted to try that out. It's a more male-dominated field, so.
In Ontario's skilled trades, roughly 5% employed are female. These kinds of opportunities put on by Skills Ontario host female mentors volunteering to instruct the girls, teaching the young and impressionable that these high-paying jobs can be done by absolutely anyone with interest. And they should feel comfortable doing the work they're passionate about.
So we just want to introduce young women as young as possible to the skilled trades, make them feel comfortable around tools and feel accepted on the work site. And so, yeah, just introducing them to the really great careers out there they might not know about. Often we don't hear a lot of after feedback, but we do hear it from the school boards that we're seeing more and more young women going into tech classes, trying out carpentry in high school, and that's what we really want to see.
Jaden Billick, TBT News.
Well, the spotlight is shining at St. Ignatius High School as students prepare for their upcoming play. Fame will feature 30 talented young actors and a live band. Students and teachers have been hard at work over the last 10 months getting the show ready. Fame is based off the 1980 musical and follows the highs and lows of the final class of New York City's illustrious High School for Performing Arts, from their first year to graduation in 1984.
It's very fortunate for us too, especially because not a lot of schools here in Thunder Bay do shows and everything, like especially like St. Patrick's did Mamma Mia and everything. And it's a very big opportunity for us, and it's going to be a show to remember in the books, especially for school, the school community.
The stress is very high right now. I know the students are getting a little under pressure. We just started, bringing the band together, choreography and the singing, and I know the students feel under pressure, but it's a very exciting time.
The first showing runs May 2nd to the 4th. It'll then be performed again from the 7th to the 9th. Tickets are available at eventbrite.ca.
It's the perfect time for those looking to add a furry friend to their family.
Yeah, the Thunder Bay and District Humane Society is hosting a Dog-a-Palooza adoption event to find some pooches loving homes. Josh Morano has his paws on the story and brings us the details.
The first ever Dog-a-Palooza kicked off with nearly 20 dogs waiting to find their forever homes. Large adult dogs were a priority for the Thunder Bay and District Humane Society, ranging from all sorts of different breeds and even more up for adoption off-site. Society Executive Director Shauna Bulliu says the event is to help these pups get adopted and find their perfect match, especially with their canine surrenders up 35% compared to last year.
So there's such a high demand. We've got a waiting list of dogs waiting to come in. Adoptions are down, surrenders are up. So we really need to get these dogs into homes. So we figured we'd give it a shot, reach out to the community and hope for some support. So I would say the average size of a dog is probably close to that 60-pound range. And then ages vary. We have dogs as young as 6 months, dogs as old as 9 years old. So there's really something for everyone.
With adoptions being down, Bulliu says it's been tough to get some of the bigger, older dogs out. Bulliu and the society are trying to get more people to come down by encouraging walk-ins throughout the event, with all the dogs being spayed, neutered, chipped, and dewormed prior to adoption. They're also offering a different type of payment to help these dogs find a home, while being able to help the next cycle of pooches that come in.
So our general adoption fee for an adult dog is $400. Now we're doing it by donation, so we really leave it up to the adopter as to how much they want to donate in order to adopt the dog.
The Dog-a-Palooza runs until Sunday at 4 p.m., giving you a chance to come down and meet these furry friends. Anything you want to say? Josh Morano, TBT News.
It's really nice to see those dogs hopefully finding their forever homes.
Absolutely.
And today would have been a perfect day to take a dog on a walk.
Yeah.
I think so, and I'm sure a lot of people, as they were trying out their pups, probably did take advantage of it, because We started out a little bit cool. -1 was our low with a wind chill of -4, very similar to yesterday, but we warmed up to 16 Celsius with some increasing clouds, but very light winds. It was just a beautiful day out there. Now, to the west, we've still got pockets of precipitation, but the brunt of the system that's moving in is going to be hitting the more eastern side of Lake Superior. So everything basically from Marathon and along the lake shore down to Sault Ste. Marie are going to be hit pretty hard starting overnight tonight and then into tomorrow. And other areas just kind of keeping their fingers crossed for much of what's going on. So at this hour, we've got a lot of cloud to the west, but it has stayed dry. Temperatures last night ranged from -3 to +3 as the overnight low, but at this hour you can see they're well into the double digits. Greenstone had varying clouds throughout the day and it just started raining there at this hour. Sault Ste. Marie, mostly cloudy for much of the day. Again, just in the last hour, the showers have begun and they're currently at 10 Celsius. Now, for the city of Thunder Bay, we are going to stay above the freezing mark overnight. A low of 2 is expected. And this evening, there's a chance of a pop-up thunderstorm over just the next few hours. But overnight, well, there's about a 40% chance that we might see some rain. But we'll also be seeing the winds start to pick up. And as this system moves in from the south through the Great Lakes, it is going to start bringing a lot more wind to some areas, especially further east. So we're keeping an eye on that.
Okay, thanks a lot, Fiona. All right, let's turn our attention to international news now. The big story of the day. He went from perhaps one of the most famous athletes and celebrities to arguably the most infamous. O.J. Simpson died yesterday. He was, of course, very controversially acquitted of murder back in the mid-90s after the so-called trial of the century. We'll have details on that and more when your news hour continues right after the break.
You know, it was a very divisive case. People hated him, hated me for representing him. It was divided along racial lines.